What's up everyone, it's Endymion, and since the nuclear explosion that is the Hollywood strike has happened, the going-ons over at Disney have gone from worse to horrible. I'll be covering things like Disney being potentially sold, those Snow White photos, and much more, so let's get started. To begin, I want to look at an article that just recently went live titled, CEO Bob Iger considering selling streaming services and other assets, may even try to sell entire Disney company. While some may see this as hyperbole, it seems that it's anything but that. This comes off the presses where Hollywood insiders have exposed Bob Iger as the person who said studios should starve out the strikes. Iger even said that he's willing to let his workers lose their homes in protest than give in to their demands. Naturally, as you'd expect, that went over about as well as you'd think. Anyway, recently where those writer strikes comments went viral from, Iger was quoted saying that many of Disney's stations may not be core to its future, and that he would be open to selling them. Iger says that platforms like cable TV are on the decline and that platforms that they own, like ABC, FX, and Freeform, could be up for grabs in the near future. Companies selling their assets is nothing new, of course, but in Disney's case, a lot of its mistakes seem to be things they could have avoided had they not been morons with their content. In the last quarter alone, Disney Plus has lost over 4 million subscribers, and its box office failures have resulted in over $1 billion in losses. As if that wasn't bad enough, Disney Plus has also lost the company around $800 million in losses as well due to underperforming. And it looks like the only other platform Disney is willing to keep is Hulu, which it plans to combine fully with Disney Plus later this year. But the problem there is that Disney doesn't fully own Hulu, with Comcast owning 33% of the platform. So if Disney wants to fully own Hulu, Comcast's baseline accepting offer is $27.5 billion, which is almost 7 times what Disney paid for Star Wars. To put it into perspective for you, just so you understand how expensive this acquisition would be, Disney's net worth is roughly $108 billion as of the end of 2022. And it's likely less now since of all the massive failures that they've suffered. So if Bob Iger wants to fully control Hulu, he'd have to spend roughly 1/4 of Disney's entire value in order to fully own it. And if Hulu ends up being not worth the price, it could very well lead to the death of Disney as we know it. I'm gonna be straight with you fellas, it ain't looking good for Disney. It's definitely a far cry from their profits in the last 10 years. Back then, Disney bought Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar under Iger's control, and those purchases led to a 33% increase in Disney's overall value since buying those properties. Or roughly $24.3 billion in revenue if you want exact numbers. But comparing the Disney of 2010 to 2019 to now is two different companies. And it looks like Bob Iger and his executives are bleeding money at such a staggering rate they may not have to sell single IPs or platforms, but the entire corporation at some point. And I know you're thinking, who the hell can afford Disney? Who has that much money to throw around like that? Well, believe it or not, the most likely purchaser of Disney is none other than Apple. Bob Iger has said in the past that Apple buying Disney was simply speculation and was nothing but rumors. But according to TheWrap.com, which claims an executive within Disney leaked info stating that the deal is very likely still on the table. This insider claims if Disney was sold to Apple, it would be, in their words, cementing Bob Iger's legacy and would be the pinnacle deal for the ultimate deal maker. This possible acquisition is actually not that crazy since Bob Iger was quoted just last year saying, "I believe that if Steve Jobs were still alive, we would have combined our companies or at least discussed the possibility very seriously." A Disney-Apple combination would result in a corporation so powerful it would trump anything made in existence from a content perspective. There would simply be no comparison that could compete with the monolithic might of an acquisition of this magnitude. And just to put some numbers in front of you in case you don't believe Apple could buy Disney, as of April 2023, Apple's market cap was estimated at $2.629 trillion, which is almost 26 times bigger than Disney right now. And to really show you its possibility, Apple has reported as of December 31st, 2022, that they have around $55 billion in cash just sitting around that they're doing nothing with, which is almost half of what Disney is worth. They literally just have that money sitting there doing nothing because Apple doesn't need it. So if Apple were to buy Disney, it would likely barely even make a dent in their bank account, and a joint combination of Apple and Disney would be beyond ultimate in terms of value and worth. And since Disney is dying from their moronic failures as of late, I'm sure Apple could even reduce the price even more and then buy them at a steal. And it looks like I was underselling Apple, because recently on June 30th, the Wall Street Journal published an article titled, "Apple is the world's first $3 trillion company." So they have roughly 30 times the value that Disney has as of right now, so the possibility is very likely that this could happen. Apple CEO Tim Cook even said recently during an investors call in April, and I quote, "We're always looking to buy companies. We acquire a lot of smaller companies and will continue to do that to add more talent to the IP. We don't discount anything big if the opportunity presents itself. I won't be looking at our inventory with you on this call, but we're always looking," end quote. And honestly, Disney being sold outright to Apple is likely going to be a possibility, since recently photos have leaked from the Snow White live-action remake, and good lord, do they look awful. Originally, Disney tried to claim the leaked photos weren't real, but since the internet backlash has been so severe, they caved in and went, yeah, they're real. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Fans are clowning Disney because the 7 dwarves are, well, they're not dwarves, I can tell you that much. Well, alright, one of them is at least, but the rest of them are just normal-sized people who I wouldn't doubt identify as multiple genders and whatever else is currently cool to do right now. Snow White's Rachel Zegler was also spotted in her outfit, and people are confused why Snow White is being played by a woman who doesn't fit the character at all. Since Snow White is explained as skin as white as snow and all that, but none of this surprises me after what Disney has been doing lately with their other remakes. Oh yeah, by the way, The Little Mermaid bombed, but who cares? Let's keep making fun of Snow White. Although it was confirmed the actor dressed as Snow White in those leaked photos is not Rachel Zegler, but a double. Maybe Disney is trying to cut costs and get filming done by recording whatever they can without showing the actor's face. I don't know, man, Disney isn't exactly known for their good business decisions lately, as this video already proves. Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen, said that Snow White in this remake won't be pining for the prince's love, but will instead be dreaming of herself becoming a future leader like her father told her she would become. So yeah, Snow White won't be saved by the prince, she doesn't want love, she'll just be another Mary Sue Disney heroine who wants to fight the patriarchy and has 7 dwarves that are not dwarves, because apparently calling little people dwarves is problematic now. But a lot of people are wondering, why the hell is Disney making the dwarves regular people? Well, the reasoning might be because of the actor Peter Dinklage, you know, the guy who played Tyrion in Game of Thrones. And he was also the ghost in Destiny for a little bit till they erased him because he was too expensive. Anyway, Dinklage back in 2022 was on the Mark Maron podcast where he blasted Hollywood for its offensive portrayal of little people in media. Dinklage was asked by Mark about the Snow White remake, mind you this was well before the film was being made, but anyway, to which Dinklage said, and I quote, "Well, you know, it's really progressive to cast a, literally no offense to anyone, but I was a little taken aback by, they're very proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White, but you're still telling the story of Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. Take a step back and look at what you're doing there, it makes no sense to me. Because you're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backwards story of the 7 dwarves living in a cave. What are you doing? Have I done nothing to advance the cause for my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know what studio that is, but they were so proud of that. And all love and respect to the actress and to the people who thought they were doing the right thing, but I'm just like, what are you doing?" End quote. While what Dinklage says here might actually be the reason why the Snow White dwarves are not dwarves, there's been a lot of criticism too. Since commenters find it interesting how Dinklage made his career playing roles specifically designed for little people like himself. But now that he's reached the peak of his career, having made millions and become successful, now suddenly the very opportunity and roles that led to him achieving success are suddenly problematic. Basically, Dinklage is being accused of kicking the ladder down only after he's achieved success. And his comments of Disney casting little people as dwarves does nothing to help his community. In fact, his comments are likely going to cost many other upcoming actors like him that will have opportunities ripped from them because of Dinklage's issue with it, which again, he had no problem profiting from himself in the past. It's the classic victim mindset mentality and believing that you're so special that nobody should be able to achieve success like you have. Thanks to Dinklage's moronic statements, those 6 dwarf acting roles are now closed off to new potential dwarf-like actors. And he probably robbed the opportunity for others like him just because it hurts his feelings. So now, not only does a Snow White remake look absolutely awful and ridiculous, but actual hardworking actors who could have benefited from the work like Dinklage had are now robbed of opportunity. I hate it when people think like this, man, that things are only problematic or wrong once you've used the very same things you call out to gain success. It's like that iDubbbz guy, where he used edgy content to rise himself to fame, then kicked the ladder down saying nobody else should do what he did because it's now problematic. People like this are insufferable to me, and Disney now likely has another box office bomb on their hands since nobody's gonna want to watch Snow White and the 6 normally sized people and their dwarf friend in theaters. But this is what I mean when I say that virtue signaling is always hollow and ruins the creative medium. And it's frustrating that it's always done by people who've used these advantages themselves. If Dinklage really cared about Hollywood exploiting little people for stereotypical roles, then he should give all the money he made from those roles to charities. But we know he won't because morons like him only virtue signal to get virtual pats on the back from other morons who are just as stupid as they are. But on the bright side, Apple is probably happy about Snow White likely bombing because it'll mean they'll be able to buy Disney for even less money once it bombs in theaters, I guess. To close out this video, I want to look at a quick story where Disney is bringing back Ms. Marvel even though she literally just died in the comics. At the end of that comic, Cyclops hints that Ms. Marvel will come back since she's a mutant and Krakoa, which is where mutants live, can revive them. It's really stupid. Anyway, the actor who plays Ms. Marvel is going to write the book and it'll likely bomb and nobody will care. Iman Vellani, who plays Ms. Marvel, said, quote, "This was way scarier than joining the MCU for me. Those projects feel like they live in their own dimension, so I guess I can separate myself easier. But you can hold a comic book. I've never written anything before in my entire life, but I have read many comics. So I just wrote what I would want to read. I was given a very professional tool to write what is essentially my own fan fiction," end quote. So we're getting a book from somebody who's never written anything before in their life about a character they played in a show that nobody watched. Like, I'm not kidding, Ms. Marvel had the lowest ratings of all the MCU shows on Disney+. But maybe it'll be dethroned by Secret Invasion, which is also terrible. I'm actually watching that show, but only while I edit videos. I also watch Secret Invasion on mute, and even then I feel like Disney's wasting my time. Did you know Nick Fury is married to a Skrull? You're right. Who cares anymore? The MCU is dead. You want to know how dead it is? Ms. Marvel debuted at 775,000 views. Secret Invasion debuted just under 1 million views. The budget for Secret Invasion was $212 million. Dude, there's YouTubers out there in their bedrooms getting more views on a single video than a major network series that broadcasts globally. People just don't really care anymore, and I can't blame them for it. But due to diminishing returns, Bob Iger also said recently that Disney will be reducing their content output, stating that the quantity of content being made is tiring out audiences. Iger also stated that Disney has been assessing how many sequels each Marvel character will be getting in the future, and that now is the time to explore newness within the brand. But let's be real, the MCU was at its peak when it was held up by legacy characters that people love. We now live in a world where Iron Man is dead as hell, and Steve Rogers is clapping Peggy Carter's cheeks instead of saving the world, although who could blame him really? The only thing Marvel could really do besides hire competent writers and directors like they used to, is just to reboot the whole damn thing. Kang the Conqueror is clearly not driving ticket sales the same way Thanos did. Not to mention Disney is pushing characters nobody cares about, like Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel down everyone's throats. I firmly believe when the Marvels debuts this fall, it's going to be a massive box office bomb for Disney, and the damage control surrounding it will be like nothing we've seen before. They'll blame the audience and call them racist and sexist because they refuse to watch a movie starring 3 women. But the truth is that nobody cares about these characters. I don't want to see Captain Marvel girlbossing. I want to see Steve Rogers as Captain America leading the Avengers into battle again. I don't care about Echo. Give me Iron Man making jokes and beating up bad guys. But maybe I'm asking too much these days, since the age of Marvel and the Disney I loved is but a memory of what it is today. So maybe like Iron Man dying, it's time for Disney to just sell itself to Apple. Maybe they can fix things, but I guess we'll see, won't we? But that's what I got for you today. Disney's on fire yet again, Snow White looks terrible, and Peter Dinklage is a moron. What else is new, right? Yeah, I know. People in Hollywood are stupid. Anyway, let me know what you think as always. Like the video to help the channel out, and subscribe to give my life meaning. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.